In 1869, the United States stood at a crossroads. The Civil War had ended in 1865. Reconstruction had begun. The nation's public debt had soared. Paper money, greenbacks, flooded the market. Gold, once a stabilizer, became a battleground. Two men saw this moment as their opening. Jay Gould and James Fisk. Not mere financiers. Speculators. Ambitious. They aimed not just to profit, but to corner the gold market. If they controlled gold, they could influence the value of currency, crop exports, railroads, even government policy. But one obstacle stood in their way. President Ulysses S. Grant, determined to stabilize the dollar and restore trust. The stage was set for one of the earliest great financial manipulations in U.S. history. Gould's reputation, ruthless, calculating. Fisk's, bold, theatrical, socially connected. They joined forces. Their plan, to buy enormous quantities of gold, drive the price upward, then sell at peak. But they needed the government out of their way. The Treasury had the power to dump gold into the market and bring prices down. Their mission hinged on stopping that. They targeted insiders, government officials, and the very policy of the United States. Grant was no passive spectator. He carried the weight of the Union victory, but he faced economic instability. His administration intended to redeem bonds in gold, reduce the greenback surplus, and restore confidence in the currency. Every sale of government-held gold threatened Gould and Fisk's scheme. If the Treasury sold gold, their corner collapsed. They needed Grant in action. They needed delay. They crafted a network of corruption. They reached out to the president's circle. They bribed and influenced. They worked through family ties. They manipulated rumors. They purchased gold under disguised names. They played the long game. While public policy looked steady, behind the scenes they built a trap, one that would slam shut when they had control. They found their leverage through Corbin, Grant's brother-in-law. Through social events, dinners, favors, they wove themselves into Grant's personal world. They argued that holding back government gold sales would help Western farmers, raising crop prices abroad by sustaining a weak dollar. Their pitch sounded patriotic, but behind the veneer lay their profit motive. The more gold remained off the market, the higher the price climbed. Daniel Butterfield, appointed assistant treasurer, became the linchpin. He was placed in a key role handling gold sales and government specie reserves. Gould paid him $10,000, a massive sum then, to tip them on when the Treasury planned to sell gold. With that inside signal, Gould and Fisk could buy before the public caught on. With that signal, they could manipulate timing. The scheme shifted from bold to brazen. The price jump was dramatic. From around $130 per ounce in early September, gold climbed to $160 by late month. This was more than a rise. It was deliberate. Gould and Fisk pleaded with Grant publicly not to sell gold. Privately, they bought undercover. They had staked their fortunes on a rising market. Meanwhile, banks lent freely. Traders leveraged heavily. Farmers borrowed against future crop sales. The trap sprang around them. The foundation built on borrowed money and inflated expectations. Rumors became their weapon. They whispered that the Treasury would hold its gold, that greenbacks would stay weak, that farmers would thrive. Confidence soared, but confidence masked fragility. The bubble grew, and when the government moved, little could stop the collapse. Friday dawned. The scheme peaked. Gold hovered near $160 per ounce. Stock traders anticipated further rises. Borrowing soared. Many speculators had taken loans to buy gold on margin, betting it would keep climbing. The system was tense. Too many players holding too much risk. Then the government acted. Grant's suspicions had grown. He discovered evidence of Corbin's involvement and traces of insider tip-offs. On September 24th, he ordered the Treasury to release $4 million in gold into the open market. That move shattered the corner. Within minutes, gold tumbled. From $160, it dropped to about $135 in some reports. The brokers felt the shock. The trap closed. Pandemonium followed. Brokerage houses collapsed. Many firms could not settle their gold contracts. Wheat and corn prices crashed. Stocks plunged as much as 20% in weeks. Farmers who depended on high crop prices found themselves buried in debt. Creditors called in loans. Many lost everything. The economy lurched. The so-called market crisis became a human crisis. In the aftermath, the landscape changed. The gold corner collapsed. Debt spreads. Credit froze. Banks closed. The price of wheat dropped nearly 30 to 50% in some regions, wiping out farmers who had borrowed against anticipated high prices. The crash exposed how the speculative world of Wall Street touched every American. The farmer in Iowa, the clerical worker in New York, the small business owner in Philadelphia. Disaster did not stay in Manhattan. Gould emerged largely unscathed. He later controlled railroads, telegraph companies, built his fortune further. Fisk, less careful, met a violent end in early 1872, killed by a rival over money and passion. No major legal action crippled them. Officials indicted, few convicted. Meanwhile, ordinary people suffered quietly. There were suicides, bankruptcies, and families destroyed. The rich walked away. The poor paid the cost. Behind every number was a face. On the Great Plains, farmers found their crops worthless. On the eastern seaboard, factories cut wages. In towns, banks foreclosed homes. The speculative bubble had looked abstract, but when it burst, it meant hunger, eviction, shattered hopes. The first great financial rip did not happen in ledger pages. It happened in real lives. In the days afterward, the story was quietly managed. A congressional investigation chaired by future President James A. Garfield cleared Grant of direct wrongdoing, but the institutions had been shaken. The public's trust eroded. Histories mentioned market panic, but they seldom named the manipulation, the bribery, the human wreckage. The scandal was sidelined. Over decades, the term Black Friday shifted in meaning, from a financial apocalypse to a commercial shopping ritual. The original crisis receded in collective memory. Few connected the shopping sales to the day when gold collapsed, when the economy trembled under insider schemes. The name survived, the lesson faded.
What began in 1869 remains relevant. Inside manipulation, collusion, speculation detached from real value. Two men cornered gold, powerful enough to shake a nation. The system broke under them. The victims were ordinary people. Today's markets are more complex, but the lesson stands. When the few exploit the many pay. When you hear Black Friday, remember, this one was not about bargains. It was about greed, power, and ruin.